Before I get started, let me apologize for the AC noise that you probably hear in the background. It is just way too hot for me not to have it on, so I'm sorry you're going to hear that today. So we're going to be talking about this thing, the Tascam Model 12, and we're going to talk about why I decided to keep it, because I know I put up a video saying that I was going to keep the Tascam Model 12. Before we get into that, let me just say, please go and check out my music. I have links to it in the description below, and I think I've noticed that some of you guys were listening, particularly on Apple Music, because sometimes I'll get a decent amount of streams on Spotify, but Apple Music is a whole different story, and the Apple Music listens spiked quite a bit. So to all of you guys that did listen from the recommendations that I made in my previous videos, thank you. You are very much appreciated. I will be making music today, but first I wanted to talk about why I'm keeping this, because someone actually asked why in the comment section below. So when I first bought the Tascam Model 12, I got it for a few reasons. One of them being that I'd started to perform by myself, solo, no band members with backing tracks. And the first time that I went and performed, I noticed that the mixer that was used at the tiny place that I performed at, it didn't have any effects. So I was just singing with my naked voice. And you know, if you've ever performed live, and especially since my backing tracks have effects on them, my guitar has effects on it, having my voice just be completely dry, it didn't sound good to me. And I wasn't too low on my performance. I actually thought I had a pretty decent performance that night, but just the dry, naked vocal didn't do it for me. So I decided that I needed something to process my vocals with. And I looked at different processors, different vocal processors. I looked at the different prices, but then I remembered the Tascam Model 12. And I also remembered that people were talking about its use with the MPC One. And me starting to use the MPC One Plus a lot again, I started to look at some of those videos again. And a lot of people made videos about the Tascam Model 12. I'm trying to think. I know Bolo made beats about it. I think Tefty and Memes. I think Elbow Media Studios also made videos about it. And I started to like the idea of the compressor. It's a one knob compressor, but I never owned a compressor myself. And I figured that a one knob compressor would probably do the job just for compressing vocals. And we'll get to my feelings about the compressor in a little bit, because it does and doesn't do the job as a compressor, but also the built-in vocals. And I also saw some videos where people were using the recording functionality, like dumping out of a drum machine, like I think a Digitact, onto the recorder in the Tascam, and then multi-tracking over that. I also liked the mixing capabilities. So, you know, sometimes I'll have my microphone going directly into the first channel of this, and then I'll have I'll have these two channels, 2 and 3, be stereo of the MPC One Plus's left and right outputs, and maybe I'll have something else into it, and I'll have everything going out of these main outs into my camera, and it is a relatively noiseless experience. So there were a lot of different ways that I could use this thing. Also, I saw that it had the DAW control feature. Personally, I'm not someone who uses DAW control all that much. I don't mind using the trackpad for that. And when I make music on my iPad, like, I've never even tried to use this as a DAW controller, so I don't even know if that would work. But I ended up getting this. I actually did get a Mackie mixer first, but I sent it back because the effects didn't sound great, and I had heard the effects on the Model 12. So the Model 12 came, and I think you guys know, if you've watched my older video about why I wasn't going to keep it, that at first I wasn't a fan of it. So first of all, the way that this is set up, it was just extremely convoluted to me. So I had used a Tascam DP08, I believe, to record before, and the recording functionality is similar to it in some ways, but the setup that it took me to use this thing at first, it just turned me off. So the way that you have to route everything, how if I would turn one knob or hit one button, I wouldn't hear anything coming from the channel onto the main. And that was a big learning curve for me, because I'm not someone who's really used to using a mixer. You know, I had 2-channel interfaces. I had the Generation 1 Scarlett interface, and my interface now is technically more than 2 channels, but it doesn't have 2 preamps. It's the Arturia Audio Fuse Rev 2. I love that thing. I love the preamps on that thing. The second thing that I noticed was that compared to the Arturia, the preamps in this Tascam, although they're not bad, they were nowhere near as good as the preamps on that Arturia, just as far as how clean they sounded, the amount of volume you got from them. So I had to turn the gain on this preamp up pretty high to use my AKG D5 in comparison to the Arturia Audio Fuse, and that was a little bit annoying. The routing things were very annoying. Using the recording functionality, I've only used it once or twice actually. I think I made a video using it once. It turned me off. It just wasn't for me. And you know, I was getting a little bit of noise also. Now, honestly, that could be from where the power was plugged in. It could be from a number of things, but it wasn't something that was happening with my other gear. And so I had decided that I was going to get rid of this thing. And I did use it for a live performance, and it did pull through in that live performance. I actually did use an insert. I put a Memory Man copy, so a Bucket Brigade delay copy that I have in the insert point here. And I was able to use that and the plate or the hall reverb, one of the reverbs that's in this thing, in a live performance, and that was awesome. Oh, and I also fed my backing tracks into this using this auxiliary input on the back, so that was nice. And then I was still thinking of selling it off, just because some of the mixer functionality it took a while for me to grasp and understand it, and I was getting those little noise issues, and just generally not very happy with it at first. And then came recording music and recording myself making music in my apartment with all of the noise that goes around the community here and in the apartment complex. And one day it was just way too noisy. I couldn't record a video using the shotgun mic on the camera like I'm using right now, because some days it's just too noisy in my neighborhood. So I thought, you know what, I have this mixer here, and I hadn't been using it. It had been sitting in the carrying bag, and I had been planning to post it and sell it, but I was just kind of dreading it because I knew I was going to take a hit for the shipping because of the size of this thing and the weight of it. It's not the heaviest mixer, but anything, if you've sold off music gear, you know that from the shipping and then from the fees, you end up taking a hit. So I just kind of was like, yeah, you know, I'll let it sit there and I'll do it when I need the money or something. But then it was too noisy, and I decided, you know what, let's give it a try. So I hooked this up to a microphone in channel 1, the left and right outputs of the MPC One Plus, and went out of this into the camera. And since I was using the D5, the AKG D5, a dynamic mic, it does reject the noise around it pretty well, and voila, I was able to record my video, and the noises in the background, they weren't too bad. They didn't show up too badly. So as the result of that, I started using this more and more and more, and what I found is it does have its uses. I also have a skateboarding channel, and because I'd used the Model 12 to make videos on this music channel, and I had heard how this one knob compressor sounded on my voice, which I did like. I do like it, so let's get into that. It's a very simple compressor. Since acquiring this, I've also acquired the ART voice channel. That has a more full-featured compressor where you're able to control the threshold, you're able to control the attack and release, you're able to control the ratio of the compressor, things like that. And it is more useful for tracking an actual vocal. But this one knob compressor, I think it works great for talking into the camera or talking into the microphone. I think it works great on bass guitar going in. You might have to compress again after, you might not. It depends. My mileage is varied. But I think that that works great. I also think that the EQ here is pretty useful. You know, it has a sweepable midband from 100 hertz to 8K. It has a 10 hertz high band EQ, and it has an 80 hertz low EQ, and those do come in very useful. Also, the ability to go into this aux jack is very useful. So I just decided that, you know, rather than losing money on the shipping and just dealing with, you know, people trying to lowball you for the gear, that for those reasons that I was going to keep the Model 12. And I'm glad that I decided to keep it because it has come in useful. Now, the reason I'm recording into the shotgun mic on the camera right now instead of using this and maybe mitigating some of the noise in the background from my air conditioning unit is because I wanted to be able to show the Model 12 while I'm talking. But I think if you're looking to get a Model 12, like the reasons that I mentioned, if you have that use case in mind, right? Like if you want to get like a kind of a broadcast sounding effect on your voice when you're talking into the camera, you can do that with this. If you have multiple audio sources, you can do that with this. I'm not really a fan of it as a multi-track recorder, just because I have the MPC One Plus and I have a laptop with Logic Pro, and I don't really care too much about the DAWless thing, especially since, you know, whenever I don't leave this out and set up, so sometimes it's more of a hassle to use this than it is just to go into my interface, just because of the size and making space for it. I do have a garage where I left it set up for a while, but right now in the summer it's so hot in there. There's no air conditioning. I have a fan, but the fan gets very loud. That's why I'm not making music up there right now, and I'm at my dining table because it's just unbearably hot up there, and I can't leave the garage door open the whole time because you know, noise and whatever and all that. But that's my little rant about why I kept the MPC One Plus. I mean, the Model 12. It works pretty well with the MPC One Plus. I did use it as an interface also. I think the last thing that I'll touch on before I make the song. So you can also use this and you can put it in PC mode, right? So you can switch these little buttons over to PC mode, and then I can have the MPC One Plus coming out of channel 9 and 10, or I actually switched it to channel 7 and 8, I think. But I find that when I do that and come out into the camera, I get audio issues as far as the leveling of the audio, and it'll clip the mic. Even if I have the input on the camera set pretty low, having the MPC One Plus's outs coming into the Model 12 and having my voice and or an instrument coming into it, it usually clips the camera's signal. It usually creates a bunch of noise, so I don't use it that way. I use this simply as a mixer. Some of the gripes that I do have is I wish that there were actual 1/4-inch outputs coming out of this thing, as well as these XLR outputs. Now I do have an XLR Y cable, and that's how I get the signal into my camera. But I think that it would just be a lot easier if there was also a stereo 1/4-inch out coming out of this thing. There is a sub output, right? So left and right sub output, and there's the auxiliary output, aux 1 and 2. But Those are actually separate signals that you have to set up, and you have to set them up over in this section here. And so then you get into more of the like setup rabbit hole. And if you're someone like me, if you're someone who's buying a mixer this size, I'm going to imagine you probably don't want to be bothered with all of that. You want something that you're going to plug in, you're going to be able to set up quickly, and that's going to work. And I don't think Tascam accomplished that with this. I just don't. I think they packed a lot into this thing, but I think it can be a little convoluted to use, and sometimes it has its quirks. But I do like it. Now I've learned to like it, and I am keeping it. So with that said, I'm gonna stop ranting and I'm gonna make a song. Okay, here I am. I've got a sequence pulled up on the MPC One Plus. It's 140 BPMs. We're gonna kind of double time. Okay, so here's another problem that I've had with another piece of gear. This is the SMK25 from Invave, and whenever I use it with the MPC One Plus, I get these notes that hold when I don't intend them to, don't want them to, didn't set it up to. And this is just a reoccurring issue with this thing. This thing can't go back. I've had it for too long. I sent one back for the problem, and it still has the same problem. Doesn't do it when I use it with, for instance, Beatmaker 3, but when I use it with the MPC One Plus over Bluetooth, it does. But let's give this a shot. Here we go. Sounds all right, but I gotta do it again. Okay, happy with the bass line. So I've already created a drum. Okay, let's record it. Overdub. All right, let's figure out another kind of. So I'm gonna go to track 3, and I am going to change the plugin. Let's go to plugin. Let's add a plugin program. Don't want the tube synth. Let's use the Jura, because y'all know I love the Jura. Okay, let's put that down. So let me just name this Jura real quick. I'm gonna screw that up so many times. Let's make sure that I don't. All right. Okay, that works. And let's do track number 4. Let's add a plug-in track. Yeah, that sounds good enough. Track 4, we'll name it Selena just to make it easy so that if I screw something up later, I know what to go back to. Okay, here we go. I gotta redo it because I don't want the notes to hit really at the same time. I want them to all occupy their own unique kind of timing. So nope. Cool, that sounds good to me. Okay, no guitar today. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna add some effects. So we'll start with the bass. Turn that metronome off. Jura, she's a little spiky. I don't think this needs compression that much. No, don't like the flanger. Phaser's cool. Let's add a delay. Cool. here we go. Listen to it one more time. Here we go. So, camera's gonna die soon, and I finished up just in time. I mean, I could have just put another battery in it, but I don't feel like it. And I'm running a little short on time today. That one was okay. This keyboard here is a little quirky as far as the Bluetooth functionality goes, but it is nice to not have to use my larger keyboard, and when it works well. Like, I actually didn't have any issues with the keys sticking or the notes being sustained when I didn't want them to while I was recording. So, you know, my fingers were crossed and it worked out today, but sometimes it doesn't. I didn't use the Model 12 today, but I did show you, talk about why I'm keeping it. I just wanted to make a little bit of music because honestly, I haven't felt inspired for the past 4 or 5 days. That's why I haven't posted anything up. Update on the song where I recorded the vocal here. I'm gonna be finishing that one. It nearly is. I thought I had gotten to the place of a final mix, but I felt like now I want to re-record the vocal with my Aventone CV12. So I'm gonna do that, and then let you guys kind of hear some of the results here, and then release that song. Thank you for watching. Check out my music down in the description. Really appreciate everybody who does watch these. And don't melt out there because it's been so hot here. Peace.